Well, hello, and welcome or welcome back to Read Becca. It is time for another monthly TBR, or to be read list, for September. As we are careening toward the end of the year, I'm realizing just how close that is getting and how much I still want to accomplish in my reading life this year, and that those are not really adding up in terms of my time and energy and the amount I want to get done. So my monthly TBRs function as a narrowing or focusing element in my reading, rather than necessarily a hard and fast list that I have to get to. So these are some things I want to put priority on based on readathons. Also, as we head toward the end of the year, it seems like the readathons are really ramping up in terms of volume and effort, and I cannot possibly get to all of them or participate as much as I would like. So I have also had to very much narrow down a couple of readathons and keep my participation fairly loose, though I always do that, to just selecting one or two books that are on the theme or fitting a single prompt rather than going all in on every readathon. So let's dive into my new selections for September. The first one is Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh. I just talked about this one in the Le Guin Prize nominees reaction, and I'm very excited for it because of that. It is also the most recent Hugo novel winner, which is a science fiction and fantasy novel, probably the biggest novel award. And so I'm very excited about this, though I've heard really mixed things. I am buddy reading this with Tiffany from Towering TBR, so I'm very excited about that. It's our first time buddy reading together. And also, I am going to select this as my pick for Scientific September, a readathon that is focused on reading science fiction and science nonfiction in the month of September. So for right now, this is the only thing I'm picking for that readathon. I do kind of want to look at the library and see if I can find something that's either short or maybe a short audio that's a science nonfiction to pair also, but I'm not sure how my time is going to be for this month. That's number one. Number two is also for a readathon, and that is for Framed in September. And I've got Catherine McCormick's Women in the Picture, Women, Art, and the Power of Looking. So I think this is about women's involvement and how having a woman's perspective changes things when you're creating art. So I picked this up specifically because Brenda Bowler talked about it, maybe end of last year, I think. So I haven't had it too long, and I got it as a potential Christmas gift last year and wanted to read it before I gifted it, and then I didn't get around to reading it. So this time I need to actually read it before Christmas to decide if I want to purchase a copy as a gift. So it is perfect for that in terms of timing, and it's perfect for Framed, I think. And it comes highly recommended by Britta. So I think this is going to be a very enjoyable read. Then we have probably the biggest this month is Shakestember. Massive event, all about celebrating Shakespeare. I always tried to participate in some way, though I have not been able to go all in as much as I have wanted. And as a result, I have a carryover from last year, and that is Miranda in Milan by Catherine Duckett. And actually, this may not even be from last year. This may be from the year before. I don't remember. This is definitely a carryover, though, that I put on a list for a previous Shakestember, and now I'm going to try to get to. So this is a retelling or continuation of The Tempest, as far as I know. So what I would like to do is watch a performance of The Tempest, assuming I can find one, I'm sure I can, and then read this. And I think this is going to be very lovely. I know Duckett writes kind of historical fantasy a lot, so I think this will dive into that very well. And it's also a shorty, which is going to be the remainder of my selections for this month, because it is also Shorty September. And that is a readathon that is run by Too Many Heathers, or Heather of Too Many Heathers, and also Sean and Bert from Past Story Time. And I love Shorty September because it's very flexible and very easy to add things and check those boxes on progress. And so I think this is hopefully going to be a good fit for both of those readathons. Then we have some shorties that I don't know really anything about, other than that they are gothic, actually, so we'll just hold them both up. So I've got The Kraken Sea by E. Catherine Tobler, and I've got The House of Drought by Dennis Mombauer. And both of these, I think, are very gothic and atmospheric kind of horror. One a manor house story and one a ocean-bound story, and they are both very, very shorties. So I'm hoping they will both be spooky, atmospheric, eerie, without being gross, because I'm not into gross horror, but I am very ready to dive into spooky season. Last year, I think last year and really part of the year before, I started getting very much into spooky reads and horror. And this year it has trailed off quite a bit just because the priorities that I've had have not allowed a lot of time for horror reading. And I want to read a lot of stuff that I've had backlogged. So these are hopefully going to get me into spooky season, diving into that horror so that I can kick off September, October, November with some great autumnal eeriness. So that is really it for all of my planned reading other than BookTube Prize. So BookTube Prize, I have not really been talking about what I'm reading specifically, but I did get fiction. So I have 6 fiction books to read in 2 months. September is the second month. So I have read 2.5 books at this point. And fortunately, one of those and the half are the very longest books, really, really long books. The others are much shorter. So I think the 3 I have to finish, or a little over 3 I have to finish, is quite manageable. So I should be able to get that done. So I have all of this plus 3 BookTube Prize books. And that seems like a full TBR. However, I also want to discuss the things that are lingering because I've had a few holdovers that have not really made any progress from previous month's TBR. So let's quickly go through those. I don't normally carry things over as much. And this year I've been doing fantastically at completely clearing every month's TBR within about a month to a month and a half. And the past 2, July and August, have not been successful. So the first of those I have started, and that's Mossflower. And I'm about a third of the way. So this is very episodic and really like fantasy adventure. It is a middle grade, but it feels pretty densely written, this one does. And it's not catching me quite as much as the first book did. So this is the second in the series. This is fantasy following little mice. So I'm enjoying it and I am continuing on with it, but it's just not getting prioritized ahead of other things every time that I have time. So I think that's about where it's going to stay in my reading priorities. I'm just going to pick it up for a chapter here and there as I have time. The next one is the Eyre Affair. This one is, again, kind of loosely fantasy about an investigator where characters from books are coming out of the books of it or disappearing from the books. And I want to get to this one very, very much, but I just could not make time for it. So I think this may be a good selection to fit in September, but with all of that, the priority reading, I'm going to see probably around late September if I have time. So this is also a priority to get to, and I think I will be able to read it within September. So that's 2 I'm going to continue on and hopefully read during September. Then we have Spacecops Mindblast. This was a selection for Garbagus. I unfortunately totally missed Garbagus. So the question is, do I try to get to this or do I save it for a future Garbagus? And I think I'm going to save it for a future Garbagus. I have a couple of options on my shelves that are like that. If I need something really pulpy, I could reach for this, but it's not really calling to me right now. So that one I think is going back on the shelf and off the TBR. And then lastly, this one is Miss Percy's Travel Guide to the Welsh Moors and Feral Dragons. And this one doesn't look huge, but it is actually quite chunky. It's like 430 pages, and it's pretty dense. So I'm really excited to read this. And in fact, the 3rd book just came out. So I was hoping to read this 2nd book in the series and then jump straight to the 3rd. And with where my reading is at, both this and the next book are quite long. I think realistically, I'm gonna probably push this off until December maybe and read both this and the 3rd book together sometime around late November or December when things are a little quieter in life, hopefully. So this one I will not be getting to immediately. And I think that's it. So 4 books that have been lingering on my TBR is really not that bad. I genuinely, coming in, was feeling a lot worse about how many things have not been finished and then realized it was only that. So that's not too terrible. I was trying very hard this year to keep all of my monthly TBRs very manageable, short lists, and that seems to have served me pretty well because I've been keeping up decently. So I am very excited about all of these, and I am just very extremely hopeful that I will not get any further backlogged in my TBRs. We will see how that goes. So are you looking forward to your September reading? Are you also kind of shifting into fall gear at this point, as I am hoping to? Let me know down below, and thank you so very much for watching.